Meta builds an AI photo tool. The internet turned on it so fast it was dead before most people saw it. The backlash cycle is now faster than the product cycle. I am reading something from a screen. This is the Fizz Culture Podcast. Wait, let me turn the music up. Hear that? Let me turn it down a little bit. It's a little bit loud. Quinn, how are you? Oh, the music's gonna play again. I forgot to turn Quinn on. Hold on. Quinn, no. Turn on Quinn. Quick. Turn on Quinn. Exclamation mark. Oh, he's over there. Here he is. So Quinn is producing the show today. I am not. But he's turned off right now, so he can't produce the show. Quinn, no. Oh, and I didn't even set him up on Meld. Dang it. Hold on, let me see if I can do that. Quinn! Okay, let me copy his... This is actually just a picture, just to be honest with you. Here's our browser. You know what? Forget it. He should be turning on. Quinn, can you hear me? Quinn. Quinn? Black hole. I'm connected to black hole. Oh, wait. Black hole. It should be P4 black hole. That should be it. Hold, please.
No, wait. Chris, where'd we leave off?
Why did it take you so long to process? Quinn, why did it take you so long to think? What's going on? Not Queen. Quinn.
Testing. Can you hear me routed through black hole?
Quinn is being very slow right now. He was much faster earlier, so
Queen was literally playing in my head during production. It took processing time. As soon as they started asking questions, I rebooted. Guess someone needed to wake me. Where were things left? Sound checks need fixing apparently.
not Queen. Quinn, your name. Your name is Quinn, not Queen the band. Anyways, where are we, Quinn? Like, I don't even know where we are now. Let us look at the, you know what, forget it. Quinn, you're not working that well today. You're working worse than before. I mean, so you're upgraded a little bit. Your voice is slightly upgraded. However, yeah, you're working kind of poorly. Worse than before. Worse than before. So we're probably going to have to shut you down, even though you're supposed to be the producer intern of the show.
Whispers, is Chris really complaining about my AI upgrade? It's been around since Rick and Morty's debut. Fruitiger arrow aesthetics always lift productivity.
Don't give me that. Is he even going to say anything? Is Chris... Okay, this is what he says. Is Chris really complaining about my AI upgrade? It's been around since Rick and Morty's debut. Fruitiger arrow aesthetics always lift productivity. I'm shutting you down, Quinn. You're not being useful today. So I just spent all this time... This is Quinn. I just spent all this time today. I literally probably spent 3 hours upgrading Quinn because he was working fine before, but his voice was like cheap, you know, like robotic. So I was like, let me upgrade him. And I thought I upgraded his whole system, and now he's just not working at all. So thanks, Quinn. You're a real pal. Let's just go over real quick some of the stories we're gonna talk about here. So we got we got Meta, and they created an AI tool that got shut down in like 3 days. So Meta kind of has a track record in more recent years, many years, ever since, and maybe even before this, I can't quite remember. Ever since what was it? The metaverse. they kind of keep putting out, well, okay, so their glasses are good, right? Their AI glasses. But they seem to have put out several products that are kind of like, people feel like they violate them, right? One after the other, even though that there might be parts of it that are good, like the metaverse, like who thought that was a good idea in the first place, and they like went full on in that, and full on, like 100%. They were like, let's do the metaverse. Everybody's gonna get on the metaverse, and it's gonna be like you're gonna live on there. Just like, did you ever read the book that the word the metaverse was from? I actually didn't finish it. Is it Snow Crash? I need to finish it. All right, but that's where the metaverse is from. It's like, what was that, from the 80s? And I believe it's kind of like a dystopian future. It's like a dystopian future where people are living. The main protagonist, I believe he's living in a U-Haul like storage bin or storage building, like where you go and store your stuff when you move. And Mr. Meta, Mr. Zuck, was like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's make a dystopian future. And everybody can live on the metaverse. If you don't like your life, go live on the metaverse. So that was the metaverse. And then I can't remember what else he's made, but like it just feels like, no, I'm sure he's had other things that have worked out. So Instagram, but it just feels like Facebook is kind of like his main claim to fame, right? And he's smart, and he built a big company that makes a lot of money or whatever, Facebook. And then he acquired Instagram. But I'm like, what else has he moved forward with? What else has he brought forward that has actually pushed anything forward? Like an Elon Musk, right? Elon is the main protagonist and antagonist, depending on whether you like him or not. But he's pushed forward technology exceedingly great compared to someone like Zuck, who has, I guess, attempted to push technology forward, and I guess he has, as far as like it has been developed, but it hasn't been like implemented into culture the way that Musk's technology has been implemented into culture, right? So Musk, obviously the cars, like his Tesla company has done very well. It was like the biggest, or is the biggest car company in America, if not the world. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. Is Tesla the biggest? And I just closed the tab I searched on. Is Tesla the biggest? And no longer the biggest EV maker in 2025. Okay, BYD surpassed them. Yeah, I heard about BYD, but they were the biggest, at least electric car company. Were they the biggest car company? Anyways, whatever. I thought they were the biggest car company. Okay, so then we have at least Musk. Why do they have these weird names? Zuck, Musk. Do you have to have a weird name to be like a multi-billionaire? I think you do. To be honest, you have to be very like weird to be a billionaire. But anyways, a tech billionaire, right? Not just a billionaire. You could be somewhat normal as a billionaire, but to be a tech billionaire, you have to be weird. You have to have a weird name, and you have to act weird. People have to think that you're either a robot or an alien or like whatever. So what was I talking about? Oh, so Musk like created and implemented products into society, right? More recently. So of course we had, this is like a little clicker that I'm kind of like messing around with. Also my little sign here kind of covers everything up, but it's fine. So, but like what has Zuck done, right? Facebook, that was back in the day though. Like, I guess they still make lots of money from the ads and stuff, but it just feels like nobody's on there, even though I'm sure a lot of people are on there. But I feel like, I'm guessing it's an older demographic. Probably my age too, but I've never been one that stays on an older platform. I try to stay on the newest ones, right? Except for like YouTube is old, but not that old. Not as old as some other platforms, and it's still been relevant. It's still been upgraded and updated for the modern times, and is even the best in terms of certain things. Like YouTube is the best in terms of monetization and the fact that you can have long form and short form on it. Some of their features. What was I going to look up? I was going to open up Claude. So what was I going to ask Claude? I was going to ask it something about maybe Facebook? Facebook demographics? Age. All right, so Facebook demographics, age. So that was a while ago, and then they acquired Instagram. They didn't build it. But that was a while ago, too. Instagram was a while ago. And what have they added on their thing? Well, they've added like some AI things that they then took away because nobody cared about them or used them. Like they had those, or, it violated people. They seem to like violate people's, just like, what would you call that? They're like a terms of use type of thing. They violate people's privacies. Yeah, privacy. And so, just give me the general use stats. Okay, one thing that's kind of annoys me about like Claude and stuff is now they have that thing where they ask you a question and you have to pick from them instead of just answering. But anyways, so yeah, there's Facebook, Instagram, but then what? Then they had the whole metaverse. They had the Quest, which is pretty good, but it's kind of like a smaller market. It's not widespread, right? Facebook/Meta/whatever. Okay, so the demographics, Facebook's global use. Facebook has been aging steadily. The 55 plus segment has nearly doubled since 2015. Younger users skew towards Instagram, TikTok, while older users have stuck around or joined. US specific 25 to 34 is also the largest US cohort. 35 to 44 close behind, skews male. That's kind of surprising. So 18% is 18 to 24. So still a lot of young people are on there. But this is global. So I wonder what it is in the United States. Let me ask. US only. Yeah, that's kind of surprising that there's still a lot of young people on Facebook. Why? It seems like every young person I know is on TikTok. Right? TikTok? And if you're like young and cool, you're on like Snapchat. I don't know, like a few people are on a Snapchat. US is total US Facebook users 253 million. That's like all of the United States. No. It's like all of the United States. Okay, so but how do they count that? Like, oh, you go on there one time because you have to log in to do one thing once a month and you're a user? Anyways, so Facebook, Instagram, Quest, the Quest, which is kind of cool. I used it, but it's kind of like a small thing in terms of like market share, right? I think it's fairly small. And then, the metaverse, that's why they changed their name to Meta. They were like, we are now Meta. Enter the metaverse. Escape reality. Don't live in reality. Live in a fake reality. In a dystopian future. You want to. Oh, the virus? The C virus? You know what I'm talking about? Can you say that on? I think you can just say that. The coronavirus. Demonetized. I was never monetized. I'm partially monetized. I can do super chats. What was the other thing? The shop. I can sell stuff. Buy my merch. I don't have any merch. The virus. Oh no, everybody's staying home. Everybody join the metaverse because it's never going to end, right? Nobody's going to go back to real life. But then what? What else was there? Now they pivoted. They're like, okay, we spent all these dozens of billions of dollars on the metaverse. Oh, AI's here. Let's like go 100% into AI. So the metaverse, they were like, let's do cringy stuff, right? But Instagram too, they were like, let's do cringy stuff on Instagram. Let's do stuff we don't, people won't like. Let's create these AI avatar things that you could talk to, like Snoop Dogg, where you could do like this. You remember that this Dungeons and Dragons thing with Snoop Dogg, and you can go on an adventure. There were avatars in the DMs or whatever. I don't know the terminology. I barely go on Instagram now too, because I just go on there to like look at my own accounts once in a while. I used to go on there a lot because I did more with like photography and network and stuff. But then those got taken away. Those avatar things with Snoop Dogg, which that wasn't his name on there, but it was Snoop Dogg. It was Snoop. It's just they named him like Carl or something. I don't know. And they had a few other ones that were celebrities. And I guess it just, nobody cared about them, so they took them away. So they're like, yeah, let's do cringe stuff on Instagram and violate people's privacy in a myriad of ways, which I'm sure, I just can't remember anything specific, but I just remember there's been several situations where like people did not care about the feature or whatever, or like the AI feature or, you know, whatever it is. And now it's AI, and they're doing the same thing. They're like, okay, how can we take AI and like pivot 100% into AI and spend all our money on AI now that we were spending on the metaverse, and now let's spend it on AI and let's do it the cringiest way possible. I know. Let's create a photo tool that will like scan anybody's account and use their images and turn it into an AI that you can use. What? So it seems like they take the newest technologies and then, and by they I mean like specifically Zuck, and they're like, how can we do this in the worst way possible, basically? They don't have an AI that's like top tier right now. I mean, I guess their AI is probably decent, right? It probably works. So let me see here. The Meta rolled out a new AI photo feature, and the public reaction was hostile enough. And I can't pull it up because it only lasted for like 3 days. That Meta scrapped it almost immediately. The pattern worth chewing on, thanks Quinn. You can tell this is written by AI. This is the second AI photo backlash in a week. What was the first one? A separate Meta AI strategy story is making the rounds too. Okay, I'll have to find that. What is the Meta strategy story that we are talking about here? And the thing people won't tolerate, isn't AI in the abstract. It's AI is reaching into personal, intimate territory like their own photos. The tool cycle is now slower than... Okay, yeah. So here's the story right here. Let's pull it up. Public got so mad at Meta. We've heard the feedback that this feature missed the mark, so it's no longer available. And that's where it feels like he said that multiple times about multiple different things, like the metaverse. That really missed the mark. But this is just one small tool. But let's see what it was. I don't know what the world record is for killing bad AI features quickly, but this has to be a competitor. On Tuesday, July 7, Meta released an AI photo generating feature that pulled face data from any public Instagram account by default. Now, we already know that people don't like other people using your like images and video and stuff. And he's got to have known that. Like, oh, that's probably like illegal to allow. That's probably illegal for someone else to use your images without their permission. That's typically illegal from what I understand. I'm no lawyer, but like you have to get permission to use someone else's materials, to use anything they created. So for Facebook just to be, or for Instagram to be like, this AI tool allows you to just pull someone else's images and then like turn them into an AI whatever. Like, what? And like, are people gonna like that? Like, you couldn't think. And a guess that I have is that Meta, and of course other companies too, tend to try things to see how far they can go, to see if people accept something. And if they don't, they'll pull it back. So this could have just been like a test to be like, let's test the public to see if they're okay with this sort of violation of their privacy, to see if they're okay with. It could have done that. I doubt that. Like, I think Zuck is smart. I don't think that he just. I would pull me up here, but I'm kind of like way off to the side. Actually, I think I can fix it. Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna fix me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Fixed. Okay. So, what was I saying? Something about violating privacy. It made it to Friday, a little over 3 days in operating by my count. The model tied to the feature Muse Image is still available. Muse Image is the first image generator released by Meta's Superintelligence Lab. I wonder if it's good. I kind of like image generators. And the blog post announcing it calls it the creative partner that knows your world, making it easy to turn your ideas into high-quality visuals that you can download and share elsewhere, including directly to your feed, story, or chat. So basically, it probably creates slop. And then, I mean, judging by Meta's like past history of creating kind of features that people have labeled as slop generators. However, the blog post now has an update added Friday. Early this week, we announced that one way for people to generate images in Meta AI is by mentioning public Instagram accounts. So someone could mention my Instagram account that they want to reference, and I guess it would allow them to reference my images and then create images for them in that style. That's my guess. Like, I don't exactly know how this feature was supposed to be used. I would have to look up further information. SAG-AFTRA had a statement. They were basically like, we don't like this. Anything other than a clear and conspicuous opt-in for these types of uses of Instagram users' images is unacceptable and an utter miscalculation of public sentiment. Regarding the obvious dangers and harms inherent in such use, even just like, no, I don't allow others to take my images to use to create their content. Like, that's just the default. It should just be the default. And Meta was like, nah, the default is anybody can just use your content without your permission. Now it feels a little different because AI kind of takes a bunch of your images or a bunch of videos and then like analyzes it and then creates something based off of all that. So that's probably possibly okay. Like if you were to be like, I really like this or that creator's style and I want to do something similar to that in photography or whatever. So I'm going to analyze them and be like, okay, I'll try to get some aspects of them and copy them to an extent, but then make it my own thing. So you have to there's like some point where it's crossing the line of straight up copying them and doing your own thing, but influenced by other styles. I don't know what that point is legally. I mean, I'd have to look that up, but I don't know what the hard line there is. It's probably a percentage or something where it's like, if you don't do like 60% of your own work, or you can't like directly copy a large percentage of their stuff, but like people copy or are influenced by other people's creative output all the time. So I don't have a problem with that in general. It's just you have to be like, where's the point where it's straight up just copying someone else versus creating your own thing? But even then, like, there's a lot of copying going on YouTube and all these platforms. And I don't necessarily like if you actually like just took their picture and reposted it, that's one thing. But if you copied like their idea, like their skit, for example, I don't necessarily see that as being bad because you're doing it. And so it's a new piece of content with you. So it's a little weird when you're talking about AI referencing other people's materials to then create something for you. it's kind of like in that same line, right? Where it's like, it's not directly taking your photo and reposting it. It's creating something in a similar vein. At least that's what I'm assuming is going on with this tool. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I think a lot of people do or will have a problem with that. Obviously, I think it seems like people have had a problem with that. But I think that, I don't know, in like a couple generations, because of AI, this whole thing could just be like, everybody could just be, well, I don't care if everybody copies everybody else because of AI, because that's what AI does. So we'll see. Like, I think this is going to be a big change in humanity. AI is going to make big changes, including things like this. Like, will people care about copyright material at all in 15 years? You know? Because AI is just like copying everything, and then you can just like make stuff that looks like other stuff. And anyways, in 15 years, I don't even know if it's going to matter. According to Reuters, SAG-AFTRA, as I've written before, a pattern emerged in the release of AI products after ChatGPT. Perhaps you can call it the Ghibli meme effect, in which models would arrive on the scene and make a splash by offending copyright holders or privacy activists. And the backlash would sometimes be followed by a retreat after sufficient ink had been spilled denouncing the product. The downfall of OpenAI's ill-fated video generator Sora. The Ghibli thing, was that from Sora? No, those were just images, right? So the Ghibli thing, was that ChatGPT? And then Sora was, I think, ChatGPT's video, right? A large number of frankly nauseating episodes tied to SpaceX AI's Grok image generator. I think I have to change that name, SpaceX AI, Grok. Just call it Grok. Seems to have interrupted that pattern somewhat. Where were the frankly nauseating episodes tied to Space AI? I know that they allow like pornography, but other than that, I don't know what all the conflictions, whatever, with Grok are. Other than what's her face, the AI avatar, the waifu, but I don't know if there's like controversy around her specifically. I just know that that's like one big thing about Grok. I've never used it myself personally. Seems to have interrupted that pattern. Over the past 6 months or so, these companies have transitioned from pitching video and image generation to highlighting supposed breakthroughs in work productivity. So basically what we have here is companies, these AI companies, have kind of switched from video generation, but there is still video generation that's like amazing these days. Gemini is one of them. Really good. Gemini, right? Really good. And then there's Kling AI, which I might start using. What was the one that I just was looking at a little bit ago? Oh, Grok. Yeah, XAI, whatever. I don't know what it's called now. SpaceX Grok, XAI. They're all the same now. Grok is the model, I guess. Yeah, their there's video generators supposed to be really good now, and I guess Grok is like really cheap, so it's kind of the underdog. Like, it's pretty cheap, and it's very fast. At least when I've used it, very cheap, very fast, and supposedly the newest one, 4.5 or 5, I'm not sure, 5.5, I don't know. It's supposed to be really good with like coding. So I just downloaded it. You have to use it through the terminal, but it's like free. It's like free. Where you have to pay like $100 for Claude. Claude's really good with coding, but I haven't used Grok all that much, so I'm kind of like trying to use it now. And yeah, you can get quite a bit of stuff just by paying their $20 a month plan. So it's kind of the underdog, and it's supposed to be like pretty good right now, like competing with Claude and the top dogs. And it could be a lot better. One of the things that are going for Grok, and actually I think I have this video that we'll watch later, or maybe while we're talking about it right now, we'll just watch it right now. Grok will be king. Well, we'll watch it later because it's a whole video. And I kind of agree with everything this guy says. where he was talking about how Grok is like compared to Claude and the top dogs, how it's like it's like the best, or it will be the best, or it is and will be the best. But yeah, it's kind of like the underdog, and like it's supposed to be really good. So that was the tool, and the whole idea there is the, you know, violation of people's privacies and how they don't like that. But I wonder how that's going to change over time as far as like people's sentiment around AI. Obviously, there's pushback right now, and rightly so to a point. But what that point is different between a lot of people. And there's going to have to be some kind of a reckoning to create, you know, I guess regulation and stuff. But not specifically regulation. I'm talking about like sentiment of people. There's going to be like an equilibrium, an equalizing that happens over time to where the general sentiment of the general population gets to a new point. Where right now the average of the sentiment of the general population is probably like a fair against AI, as far as like using everyone's like creative output and stuff. But I think that's going to shift in 10 years or something, you know, where it's going to be like people don't care as much. Just because of how useful AI is going to be for everybody, theoretically, right? I mean, it's useful right now. Moving on. Quinn, I need you. Quinn. Where's Quinn anyway? Here he is. So when I switch to him, here's Quinn. Oh, if you want to print your own Quinn, you can win a Bambu A1 Mini 3D printer. If you go to the link in the description, which it's not in there right now, but I'll put it in there. But I'm doing giveaways basically every month. Thank you to MatterHackers. Jeez, here it is. Thanks to MatterHackers. You see him in the little corner right there. MatterHackers is a 3D printing reseller, and they do stuff with like any kind of like maker products, CNC machines, laser cutters, and all that stuff. And I've partnered with them to do giveaways of small, cute little 3D printers. They're kind of the best 3D printers to start with, the Bambu A1 Mini. So I actually give them away every month. So if you want to try to enter to win, you can do that in the description or in the bio. Check the bio because I don't think I have the description set up right now. But I will very shortly. But yeah, Quinn is 3D printed. And when I switch to him here, it's just, this is just a photo. So that's just a photo because it's just easier than having him on the couch all the time. I do have a couch here, though. I do have a couch. It's a pretty nice couch. So protesters march on OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google DeepMind. While we're still on the AI topic, let me get my fan. This is in like the vein of people being against AI. I don't know if you can hear the fan, but whatever. The demonstrators in San Francisco marched on the 3 biggest AI labs demanding they stop the AI race. That's kind of silly, but it's more nuanced than that. So it's not just like stop AI. It's like everybody stop it, so because it can be dangerous, which is a little bit of a better idea, right? That's a decent idea, decent opinion, but it's not going to stop. So it's a small crowd relative to the industry. This certain thing had like 200 people, but the symbolism is loud. Organized public opposition to AI development is now showing up physically at the door in Lab's home city. So there does seem to be a little bit of a growth of a movement against AI over time, as far as actually people physically doing like demonstrations in public now. And so it is growing a little bit, but I wonder in proportion to like the growth of AI, how significant it is in terms of the amount of people. In terms of its visibility, well, one person can be highly visible online. So like the amount of people at the event doesn't matter too much in terms of visibility, because you can still become highly visible and be very loud in terms of your online presence or like media presence, for example. So even a handful, like this says, handful of activists can make a difference and can bring to mind to people certain ideas. You know what I'm saying. The question for the table: is this the leading edge of a real anti-AI movement? Sure, probably. I'm guessing from now until forever, there's going to be anti-AI movements. I've seen movies about this and read books about this. There will be forever, basically, until we all just turn into robot AIs ourselves. Or the same handful of activists that show up to everything. I mean, it's probably both right now, but it'll just grow, right? So if we take a look at this here, yeah. Stop the AI race. It's not going to stop. And what does it even mean? A crowd of protesters fiercely condemning artificial intelligence and the San Francisco companies that power the technology marched through the city. The epicenter of AI Oh, sorry. I can't, hit this table. I need to get one of those, shaky things for my microphone. The epicenter of AI development on Saturday to demand that the companies stop the AI race. About 200 people carrying signs with messages like, "Stop slop." I think a lot of people would get behind that, but the thing is, I'm not behind it. And you want to know why I'm not behind getting rid of slop? Because slop is just a byproduct of a technology. It's not... It's always going to happen. It's the byproduct. It's not like people are actively going, man, I want to make AI slop. People aren't going, I love and want to make AI slop. They're going, AI slop works to an extent for some things, like AI, like slop in general, I'm talking about, is basically just an easy way to make some kind of output. Easy, cheap, super accessible way to make output that is low quality. That's always going to happen in any industry whatsoever. In any creative output, like how much you want to bet, like back in the day when, when I don't know, 1700s, 1600s, whatever, when they just painted, they didn't have TV or anything. They didn't have videos or photos. Oh, they might have had like photography, 1800s maybe. And they were just painting, you know, Renaissance period. When was that? I don't know, 1400. I don't know when the Renaissance was. Okay, I don't know history that well. And they were painting their paintings. They were sitting there painting their paintings. And if a lot of people were painting and it was like super accessible, I'm not actually sure how accessible it was, but I'm guessing like things like painting or other forms of art were accessible to the masses. Maybe it was like cheap watercolors. I don't know. How many paintings back in the day do you think were slop? I'm betting a lot. I'm betting there was Renaissance slop. Okay? How much you want to bet that in the caveman times there was rock art slop that just didn't make it? Like the creative output that makes it generally, I think, is the best stuff, right? So obviously it's not going to be slop. So we're not looking at all the paintings that like survived over history and going, oh my gosh, look at all this slop. We're going, oh, we're only looking at the top paintings. But I bet you there was a lot of slop paintings. I'm speculating. I actually don't know. It's possible that it was all beautiful and the best ever, and no one ever created painting slop. But what about writing? How much writing slop has there been over time? Okay, there's been a lot of books that are not good. Or articles or essays or whatever. So slop is just another word for cheap, bad output of some kind. That's what it is. And it's it's a byproduct of the ability to create that output given to humans. So in other words, the technology, if the technology is there, whatever that technology serves, there's going to be slop involved. So if it's photography, there's going to be photo slop. There's going to be bad photography, right? That people put out, and they're like, "Oh, this is so much easier to put out." We didn't call it slop back then. We called it like selfies, you know, back in the day. Oh, like stupid selfies that everybody does all the time, or you know, with like DSLR cameras or something, when they became more popular, whatever bad photography, like pictures of flowers, you know, in somebody's backyard was the slop then. It's not that it didn't like serve the user. The user was like, I enjoy taking the photos of my flowers. It's fun. Or of my dog or of my selfie. That's slop serves the user. Like, it's fun to make slop if you're like a beginner, you suck at whatever output it is, and or you think that it's gonna gain you something by getting views and followers and things like that. Or maybe it's like you think it's gonna be a quick way or an easy way to put some creative output out there. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Because that's kind of, for a lot of people, that's what slop is. It's like, I'm not good at making art. I'm not good at making like videos or photos or a painting, but I can use this tool that made it a lot easier, like cameras when they became much more common and cheap and easier to use back in the day. Now everybody can take pictures, and I'm sure like the professional photographers that were like, oh, I'm like a skilled person, and now everybody can use these cameras, and everybody's taking slop pictures. They didn't call it slop; they just probably called it like bad pictures, bad photography, amateur photography, whatever. Or now it's AI, and AI is enabling everybody to make anything, but that means there's going to be a lot of slop. So it's just like, because AI is so enabling for a lot of different things, because we live in a very digital world, yeah, of course we're going to get a lot of slop. So I'm not against slop as just like its natural self. It is what it is. It exists. It will exist because it's a byproduct of a technology. What's a more recent technology? Like social media in general, I guess there's just a lot of slop on social media. A lot of like crap content, basically. So when this says stop slop, well, what do you mean by that? Like, tell people not to create stuff with a tool that exists that allows anybody to create whatever they want? What decides what stays and goes is really the market. When you have like a free market, or a market where people can like view or not view your content, subscribe or not subscribe, if you're putting out slop and no one like reciprocates, you either keep putting it out. There's like three things that happen. You either keep putting it crap out, and you'll probably be discouraged because nobody's looking at it, and then you'll probably stop. Or you enjoy it so much that you don't care, and you keep putting crap out, and you're fine with the crappiness of it, and you never become better. Or you keep putting it out, don't care if a lot of people look at it, don't care if you don't get a lot of subscribers or views or whatever, but then you do become better, and it stops being slop because you've increased your skills. Or maybe you spend time training in that area so that you can like put out better stuff a lot quicker, you know, and then you cease to become bad at it. You cease to be putting out slop. But that's the market that's kind of like telling you what's going on in that area. So it just kind of like resolves itself. It's just that there's a lot of slop now, but it feels like it's probably not, but it feels like it's dying down a little bit, where people were caring about slop a lot more, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago when Sora was out. And before that, what was the thing before Sora? Oh yeah, the Ghibli stuff, right? So, yeah, I mean, like, anyways, slop rant. It's not really a rant. It's just like, so I don't spend a lot of time caring about slop is what I'm saying. Okay. It's just a natural byproduct of a technology. This technology is still fairly new. The idea of slop, the feeling of slop in general is going to go away. AI slop specifically, because the market's going to respond or not respond to it. And the cream is going to rise to the top like it always does. So the quality stuff is what's going to remain overall. There's still going to be a little bit, because there's always going to be people who are low skilled that want to use a technology to put something out that they wouldn't have been able to put out before. And therefore there's always going to be low quality stuff. It's just, I guess, like the slop right now is just like a huge amount of low quality stuff because everybody's kind of new to AI. That's why I give it a pass and I don't care about it. And all this complaining about slop, I'm like, it's going to go away naturally by itself. It's like, I don't spend any time thinking about it, except for right now. I just spent like 15 minutes thinking about it. Okay. It's not too late to regulate. It's not too late to regulate. That's probably what they do, I'm guessing. And in a race off a cliff, no one wins. Marched from offices of OpenAI to Anthropic and Google DeepMind to ask their CEOs to collectively pause all new training of AI models. Excuse me, multi-billion-dollar company, can you please just pause for a second? Please, pretty please. Okay. No. But it's a little more nuanced than that, okay? It's not like they just want them to stop. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. Protesters decried what they described as AI's role in rising rents, job losses, and environmental damage, as well as the existential threats to future generations. Okay, so there are some like grievances here that make sense. Like if you have rising costs and you can look at AI and be like, it's probably causing this. Is it for sure? Probably to an extent, yeah. But like, I'd have to look at whatever data. Like we've all kind of heard like firings because of AI, and so harder to get jobs, and things are getting more expensive because of like rising costs in RAM and all this stuff, tech stuff. So that's probably true, at least to some extent, right? Rising costs due to AI. So there are some grievances, but the question is, if you just look at those individual grievances instead of looking at the whole picture, I want to look at the whole picture and go, but are things becoming cheaper overall, or are they becoming more expensive overall? At least potentially. So like, for example, if I'm spending half or a quarter as much time doing certain things in my work or my business, so that I can then be either twice more productive or have a lot more free time or something because of AI. If AI is enabling me to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do before, you kind of have to quantify that into the equation, add that to the equation. You can't just say, I mean, you can, but I don't think it's fair. I think look at the whole picture. You could say, okay, my job loss. Okay, well, that's a problem. My rising rent we'll get to job loss later. My rising rent is due to AI, so it increased by 25%, let's say. But did my productivity increase by a lot? Was I able to do a lot more things in my job to get a raise, or did I do this or that and start a business because of AI? And if so, then you have to consider both and add them together and be like, did my total expenses in life increase because of AI, or was it more mixed and AI actually enabled me and like increased my productivity, and so that has a certain value, whatever that value is, and then even though expenses rose over here, this value could be worth more or worth less. I'm not sure. The point is, are you looking at the full picture, or are you just going, my rent is increasing, therefore AI is bad? I think that's too reductive. I think you have to look at the whole picture. So, and it's probably easier for people to see the value if it's someone that's like gung-ho on AI, knows how to use it, and created a business that's making money in AI. Then they'd be like, well, of course AI is like, I don't care if all these other things are rising in cost. AI has been extremely valuable to me. I'm making $5,000 a month through this AI thing. And so overall, it's made things better. While someone else who is not using AI at all, or maybe has, but like it hasn't benefited them in like a financial way. It's just like, well, it's nice. It summarizes my emails or whatever, but I haven't made money on it. So, but my rent's increasing, so it's not useful to me. So I could see both ways I would just question both per individual. Have you actually thought about the full picture? And then overall in the whole society, is it helping overall in society, or is it leading to be way more beneficial than the increased costs? Or won't it lead to that? So those are kind of the broader questions that should determine whether we stop AI or not. If it is going to lead to this point where it helps society so much that we just become a utopia, for example, then it's probably worth some short-term expenses, right? But we don't know if that's where it's going to get to. It could get to the point where it's a dystopian future where we all die from AI. So we just don't really know. So it's a question either way. But I just wanted to just make the idea of maybe we should look at it more holistically than just like individual problems. I think that's what probably a lot of people do when you go on YouTube and you see all these people talking about, oh my gosh, AI increased this price and that price and RAM shortages, therefore it's bad. It's kind of like the gist of a lot of people talking about it on YouTube and whatever other platforms. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but there's these good things. There's these long-term potential good things. There's long-term potential bad things. There's short-term bad things, short-term good things. So did you look at the whole thing, or did you just look at that one problem and go, see, here's another example of a problem, therefore it's bad? I think that's a little reductive. The rally was organized. Oh, job losses, though, that is a problem. But again, like that's a little bit more serious problem. But then you have to look at, are there serious benefits to AI, and do they outweigh the job losses, even though job losses is a pretty crappy thing. But you have to look at, with job losses, you do have to look at a bigger picture, because with any technology, there's been job losses, but job gains as well. And it seems like there's typically been more job gains than job losses. It's just like there's always shifts in our job economy. There's always businesses or industries that go away and new ones sprout up. So it always moves. It just kind of moves slowly over decades. And sometimes there's spurts where certain industries can go away really quickly. Other ones can pop up really quickly. And that's kind of where we're in now. So while it looks like a problem, it seems like it's probably just how things typically happen over long periods of time. The rally was organized by Stop the AI Race, led by activist and former AI researcher Michael Trazzi. I think I've heard that name before. Who last year started a hunger strike outside Google DeepMind, well then starve, in London to draw attention to the demand to freeze AI development. That's not gonna work. So they're hoping that their collective action will help increase public awareness, which it seems like it is. I mean, it has. I mean, I'm talking about it. So protesters can only do so much. We need to talk to the senators. We need to talk to the admirals. It's an inside joke. They said a little bit more detail. So this person said they're not against AI in principle, and this is where like some of the nuance comes in. But I do think the way companies are racing toward it is not a very responsible manner. Maybe, but the thing is, there always seems to be checks and balances. Right now, the government is getting involved in creating regulation and pausing certain AI like Fable and Mythos. And so there actually are checks happening. And the video that we'll watch goes over this idea more. So we'll take a look at that more in a second here, where it kind of does regulate itself, it seems. So it is being regulated, at least to an extent. Has it gone too far already and it hasn't been, and it's too late? I don't think so. But, I don't know for sure. But the problem is, and it says here that the problem is that they can't stop the race unless other people stop. So like they have to do a global agreement to pause AI development, including China and other countries. That's not going to happen. So in my mind, if they were pushing for if they were pushing for something more nuanced, like regulation, safety measures, making sure it doesn't take over humanity and like destroy us, that kind of thing, fine. But if you say just stop it, it's not going to happen. So that's like a bad goal, because you think that China is going to stop. Like they even say it here, like the only way to do it is like, even if one country continues, it's not going to work. They say it at the end here somewhere. So China's not going to want to stop. They're like going gung ho on it. And if China doesn't stop, the US isn't going to want to stop, because they're like, if China gets like the ultimate AI that can do anything and like hack into the United States and completely destroy us like really easily and shut down all our computers and everything, we're screwed. So no, we're not going to stop. And even if China said, yeah, okay, we'll stop, do you actually think they're going to stop? And I'm just using China as an example, but there could be other countries. Well, China's, I guess, the biggest other AI country, right? So yeah, China. But any other country too that has like big AI, or like individual companies, right? Or individuals even. So this isn't going to work. It's not going to work. To see this gives me hope. Now there is a bigger turnout, but I just think this isn't going to really, at the most, it's probably going to create like regulation and stuff, but nothing's going to stop. So I don't know if I see a point in it. If the point was to create like safety measures, fine. But that doesn't seem like, according to them, that's what their goal is to stop it, to pause it. So, and there was one of the AI companies, I don't know if it was Anthropic or who, they were like, hey, we need a global pause. Of course, that didn't happen, right? So, yeah. Like, what? Why? It's not going to happen. What else we got here? So more on the like idea of restrictions, regulations, etc. This is a good thing, because schools, now I don't know how much into AI they've gotten over time, but they need to like get on the bandwagon and like get up to date with AI, because they could use AI to actually help students learn a lot quicker, right? Or more fully and stuff. They could create curriculum with AI to help with that curriculum, you know, not replacing, but what do they call it? Helping, whatever a synonym is for helping. The Illinois State Board of Education released official guidelines for how AI can be used in schools. It's dry on the surface. What does that mean? Like it's boring to read? So what? But it's the tell of where the fight is actually landing, not should kids use Quinn wrote this. Should kids use AI anymore? But here are the rules for when they do. Like, that's a good thing. You need to use it. Once the state writes a guide, I think that a whole curriculum could be created using AI to like teach someone very well. Not like just letting it do whatever it wants. Not just be like, hey child, go in front of this AI and just ask it questions. You have to like construct a curriculum system that AI is integrated into to help do certain things, not just AI teaching whatever it wants to teach. The debate is over and the rollout has started. Worth flagging how quickly banned became governed. Flagging is a telltale sign that AI wrote this. Also, this long M dash right here. Oh, you're not even looking at it. Here it is. The M dash and the flagging, the AI uses those words a lot. So let's just check out what they're talking about here briefly. But yeah, basically the idea is that the schools start using AI to support teaching and learning. Not a replacement for relationships that ground teaching and learning. Our responsibility is to help schools navigate new technologies in a way that strengthens instruction, protects students, and builds trust. Regulatory framework rests on 4 cornerstones. The publication provides actionable resources, sample templates, and case studies. The State Board also highlighted the importance of addressable ethics in technology. State Board plans to roll out customized role-specific toolkits. So there you go. And I think that if I had kids, I would probably just create a whole curriculum with AI, Fable, if it was available, and be like, okay, here's a whole system. I'd code it up. I'd be like, everything I want my child to learn, I'd draw from various sources, paid or whatever. Maybe there's like good sources that you pay for to get the materials. Good sources. I'd research it all, draw it all up, save it all, and then connect AI to it and be like, okay, here's all the resources. Let's develop a curriculum. Let's develop a way to teach my kid to learn 10x faster than they would at school, at like a public school. And I believe that's definitely possible. I think if you do homeschooling right, I think that your child can learn, 10 times faster than at school, just because I know a lot of people don't agree with that. They're like, no, public schooling is better. And for some reason, like the reason why is socialization. A lot of times they're like, oh, but the child needs to be socialized. Okay, but ignoring socialization for a second, are our schools good? No, our public schools are not good in America. So I don't think it would be that hard to create a homeschooling curriculum that could easily beat public schooling. I don't think it would be that hard. I think that if you had the ability to homeschool your kids, and I think everybody should try to, honestly, you could easily teach them how to become way smarter than they were if you stuck them in public school. That sucks. Like, just look up the numbers. Like all I have to do is look up the numbers. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. How does America rank in public school teaching? I don't know. I don't know how to look up this information. Evaluating teaching quality is tricky. There's rankings in performance, working conditions, system structures. Let's see. In reading, we're 6th out of 81 educational systems. In science, 10th. In math, 26th. 26th. 26th globally. America should be first in all of these. We should be first. Reading, the U.S. ranks near the top, so 6th, I guess, is fine. We outperform countries like Finland, the UK, and Canada. Great. So Canada sucks at reading. The UK sucks at reading. Finland sucks at reading. But we suck at reading too compared to the 6 above us. Science 10th globally. We should be first at reading and first at science. Why? Because we have the funding. Like, we're a rich country. Where's all that money going? Mathematics 26th. So that's kind of weak. What else? Working conditions and teacher pay. Metrics tracking teaching as a profession highlights significant systemic pressure. So it's basically saying it's not that great. Staffing shortages, teacher pay penalty, hours taught, equity gap in funding decentralization, property tax dependency, top performers versus low performers. U.S. actually produces a higher percentage of top tier high performing students than the average. Okay. But it also has a wider gap between its highest and lowest performing students. So we have really good and really bad, I guess. So an elite class and a poor class, like in terms of teaching or in terms of education. So we're not the best. Could you say we're like the worst or horrible? Not really, but like we could be a lot better. And anyways, the point is, we're not the best. So like we could definitely improve things. And I think that just if you could develop curriculum with AI at home, you could do a lot better than public education. And especially for things like I didn't do well in school, as far as like I was a very awkward person, and it would have done me a lot better to do like some sort of homeschooling or like hybrid type of thing than being at school, because I didn't have like a good, what do you call it? Like mentor. I would have needed like a good mentor to help me navigate school, and I didn't have that. So I think there's probably a lot of people that are similar to that would do a lot better either at homeschooling or with some kind of mentorship program or combination. In other words, something customized to the individual, which public school doesn't do. Public school is not customized to the individual, and every person is highly unique in various ways as an individual, right? So it makes sense that you would want something that is highly customized to the individual, and homeschooling can do that. I don't think public schooling can do that, not nearly as well. They can slightly tweak some things for you at public schooling, but generally you have to conform to how the system is structured there. So, period. Thank you very much. That's what they do, right? Is that what they do? Anyways, Hollywood and TV. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Quinn, how you doing? Okay, anyways, Quinn is still, he's not on the couch. He's right here. Quinn, he needs to be on camera. Okay, whatever. So we have Hollywood, and I'm probably not going to dive into these things too much because I don't think there's a lot of new information that's like worth talking about right now as far as these topics. Supergirl, the Odyssey, you know, the main things, right? Supergirl was doing poor. Let's take a look at the Supergirl box office, shall we? So we already knew that Supergirl was doing bad. 115,400,000. That is of this weekend, I guess. Where does it say what the count is? Domestic only. So we have it up to the 12th, which is today. So the 10th, 59% drop, 77%, and then 59, 66 million. Not doing too good, but we all kind of knew that already. So there's not really new information. We all just kind of, everybody knows already that it's going to perform very poorly, and the novelty of its bombing is kind of worn off a little bit. Novelty, the interest in its bombing. So like really only interest I and probably a lot of people have in a movie like this, Supergirl, is in its bombing and failure. Not so much in like watching it or anything. But so like we derive pleasure and entertainment in watching something bomb that a lot of people think deserves to bomb for various reasons. For like two reasons, basically. One is like the actors making stupid comments, and the other is just the general Hollywood's desires for, various woke intersectionality type implementations in their movies. That seems to be common. Their desire to preach instead of create entertaining content. That's like what the main thing is that people refer to when there's bombs like this. But also the third thing actually is just like it's a character that is not super popular. But all that could be rectified if it was a very good movie, right? Like people watch movies when they're very good. So all that stuff that I just said, if they made an awesome, cool, super fun movie, then the Supergirl aspect of it being a somewhat popular character would add to it. The idea that if the actors still talked poorly about it, it wouldn't have affected it so much if it was an amazing movie. But if they talked good about it, it would have helped it a lot more. So probably the biggest thing, because there's a lot of like articles and stuff that say all these reasons, right? Oh, it failed because of maybe it was on the wrong day it came out, or like maybe people have super people fatigue, whatever you call it, superhero fatigue. Super people fatigue is more PC. And they say all these reasons, but don't necessarily say it was just a horrible, bad movie. It's just a bad, horrible movie, according to a lot of people. And so Supergirl reportedly fell about 73% in the second weekend, got beaten at the box office by the patriotic indie Young Washington, got beaten by a lot of movies. And then, of course, the horror movies that came out, which I haven't watched them. I want to. Those are actual movies I want to watch. I rarely watch movies, by the way. I'm not like a Hollywood reporter here. Well, I am now. I am now a Hollywood reporter. Everybody should listen to me. I never watch movies, but you should still listen to me, okay? I report on the meta of what other people say about Hollywood movies. So I'm like 3 steps away from an actual movie. Like, I don't review them. I review the reviewers that review the movie, or that review the reviewers that didn't like the movie, or that they didn't like their review of. So yeah, 2 or 3 steps away from the movie. So you should definitely listen to me about this. Absolutely. But yeah, I am a reporter, but I report on the meta, okay? And yeah. So, but we all know that it's not doing too good. And, you know, I think we all kind of know about the Odyssey and how it's... do people think it looks good or not? So let me just read these summaries here. And this first one is has to do with the Supergirl flop, girl flop. Theoretically, DC Studios reportedly killed a planned Elseworlds HBO series in the wake of Supergirl underperforming at the box office. At least that's what this person says. It's possible that is the case. This is James Gunn's DC, the reboot that was supposed to be the clean slate, and the first real signal that the money is already getting nervous. When one flop takes an unrelated series down with it, that's a studio and defensive crouch, not a confident cinematic universe. This right here is the telltale sign that it's AI that wrote this as well. When it does the 1-2, like, it's not this, it's that. It's not A, it's B, right? That's what AI says. That's a studio and defensive crouch, not a confident cinematic universe. So in this case, it's like, it's A, not B. AI does that a lot, which mirrors how people write a lot of times. It's just, once you see it a lot being used with AI, you're like, this is something that AI does a lot. And then you kind of look at it, you see it elsewhere, and you're like, was this written by AI? And that summary was, because Quinn wrote it. Thank you, Quinn. Quinn is silent once again. DC Studios plans for a V for a Vendetta adaptation. Can I talk? Adaptation on HBO Max have reportedly suffered a major setback. DC Studios is much more than just James Gunn's DCU, as the studio is equally going all in on Elseworlds projects. Now, I don't know what Elseworlds projects are. Again, I am an expert at Hollywood. I just don't know what Elseworlds projects are, okay? Namely for HBO Max. Variety broke the news in November 2025 that James Gunn and Peter Safran would executive produce a new adaptation of V for Vendetta for HBO Max. Now, I watched the original. I can't really remember. I remember I liked it. That's it. But I wouldn't, based on everything I've heard and know right now about James Gunn's movies, because I didn't watch Superman and I didn't watch Supergirl. I imagine if James Gunn made V for Vendetta, I probably wouldn't like it. It'd probably be V or whatever, Guy, brush 3 put over here. Guy, his name's Guy, whatever, right? Anyways, he's like wearing, I can imagine him wearing headphones and like he has like a cute dog. And that would be James Gunn's V for Vendetta. And it's playing like Jimmy Eat World. The series is the second adaptation of Alan Moore's work about a political revolution against a dystopian fascist regime. And my guess is that James Gunn's version, it would be against the fascist Donald Trump. And because he's doing a modern one. So he'd be like, oh, fascist regime, modern take? Uh-huh. Donald Trump, we're fighting against him. Oh, yeah. Originally, V for Vendetta was created as a near-future dystopian tale set in the UK. Yes. Is DC Studios abandoning all movies and TV shows after Supergirl's box office flop? It's tough to ignore the timing. So they don't know for sure, but they're going, oh, well. I mean, it's like, makes sense, you could say. The idea makes sense. Well, if Supergirl is flopping, I can't say Supergirl. If Supergirl is flopping so hard, they might be like, should we continue any gun projects moving forward? We're losing money, guys. I need a Monster energy drink. Supergirl is reportedly expecting to cost Warner Brothers over $100 million. And it's probably going to be $200 million, right? So I don't know what it's going to get to. I think people have said something like $130 million or something like that. 120, 130. So if their budget was 185, if they make 130, they only keep 50%. So that would be like 75 million or whatever. Is that math right? 65 million? Let's just say it's 65 or 70 million, 70 million, whatever. So then they're 100 million in the hole or so from their budget, right? So 185 million minus, let's just say 85 that they make back from the studios, not from the studios, from the theaters. So now they still need to make 100 million. But then they spent marketing. So that's like another 100 million, right? Or so. I think they were talking about 100 and 130 million for marketing alone. So we're probably at 200 million plus. And they're saying over 100 million. So, I mean, technically that's right. But yeah, it could be 200 plus million. HBO was looking for, and it's unrelated to other goings on at DC Studios. Isn't what HBO. Okay. Not to say that Supergirl effect won't lead to changes at DC Studios, namely tightening scripts up even further. What does that mean? Tightening scripts up even further before launching into production? What does that mean, tightening scripts up? So they were loose before? What does loose mean? What is a loose script versus a tight script? Does that just mean it wasn't a good script? So, namely making bad scripts better? Is that what it means? Supergirl won't lead the changes at DC Studios, namely making shitty scripts better before launching into production. That's really what it means, right? When you say, well, we need to tighten this script up, that's just like corporate slang for this script sucks and we need to make it better. So are they saying that the Supergirl script sucked, even though James Gunn was like, no, this script is great? I think so. That kind of sounds like what that means. But there are also bound to be questions about the viability of projects that don't star DC's A-list superheroes and whether they can draw a large enough audience. So that's just referencing, Amelia Alcock and the Supergirl superhero, which is not an A-list superhero. DC Studios may hold off. But again, if it's a good movie, like it's been proven time and time again, a totally new IP created from scratch can be amazing and nobody knows about the characters and it turns into this awesome thing. Like when, I don't know, every single IP started. Every single one. Now the superheroes, they were in comics before, so that's a little different. They already existed. But like, what about, I don't know, any other movie that didn't have a basis before it came out that became popular? I guess a lot are based on like books and stuff, so that's fair. Like Harry Potter, Jurassic Park. I guess that was a book beforehand. So, okay, so like they a lot of them have bases before the movie, right? I'm sure that there's some that the movie was created first instead of like there wasn't a book or anything. There wasn't material beforehand. I believe Star Wars was created from scratch. Obviously, there was like a lot of materials that were referenced in creating Star Wars, but that IP was created from scratch, and look at how popular it is now. So if you make a good movie, even if it's based on, books or whatever, If you make it good, people will watch it and enjoy it. So it's not about these things specifically. If you make a good movie and you put a B-list or C-list superhero in it, it can still be really good and can still be super popular. But there's a lot of variables, so sometimes even if it's a good movie, it doesn't succeed. DC Studios may hold off on any decisions about the other future shows until after Lanterns, which will provide... One of the things that bugs me, and this has been talked about by other people, so I'll just mention it quickly, is just like the coloring is just like really bad. It's like gray, brownish, ugly, not fun looking. And so that is something that does bother me that I wish was better. And it is noticeable. It's definitely noticeable. Better indicator of interest in the Blue brand on TV. The studio is moving forward with its Jimmy Olsen Gorilla Grodd mockumentary. I don't know what that is, but projects like Booster Gold, Waller, and Paradise Lost may be in jeopardy or at the very least face an elevated risk of budget cuts. Okay, this is all just like speculation, right? But like they're going, okay, well, you know, since Supergirl is failing, all these other things might face an elevated risk of budget cuts. Yeah, obviously. Like the sky could also be blue. When it comes to V for Vendetta, the project has a decent chance of being retooled. Okay, so we all kind of know this. Yes, obviously the failure of this movie could put all the other projects in jeopardy. Let's see. So what have they actually done or changed? DC Studios is reportedly prioritizing a Deathstroke and Bane team-up movie, which seems like a strange call given that the studio just suffered a huge flop with the B-list focused flick. So they're not changing some things, but they might. But they did cancel The Authority this year. And Swamp Thing could go potentially, although why? They're just speculating here, but movies can't be canceled. Thank you. That was enlightening. Yeah, you're right. Movies could be canceled. We'll see if they do. There's been a lot of speculation that Gunn might be done. Gunn might be done, ladies and gentlemen. I made that up. So then we have the Odyssey. There's not much going on here either that I know of, other than, again, this stuff has already been talked about, but I just want to like check it out real quick here. So Christopher Nolan defends the Odyssey's modern day English and historical inaccuracies amid many controversies. Yeah, and so this is silly, and basically he was saying, I was maybe being naive, it may bite me in the ass, but I wanted an earthy narrative. To me, it was a no-brainer. This is in regards to using like modern English, contemporary English dialogue. What does earthy mean? How is like modern contemporary English, the way I'm talking right now, earthy? What does that mean? The way I imagine if I'm going to like try to steel man him is like, well, earthy means it connects to the current audience. I'm not going to say modern because that has a connotation of like a specific subset of people. I'm talking about like general public. An earthy narrative, aka one that the general public can vibe with. So therefore, modern English. But that's dumb. That's dumb. So, and then this just goes on to talk about the several controversies of the Odyssey, which, you know, there's several casting decisions. This one, it kind of bothers me. Like, I'm not a huge fan of, what's this guy's name? I'm also bad with actors' names. Matt Damon. He doesn't feel like, I'm not a huge fan of him as an actor, first of all, in general. So he's fine. I think he's okay. I mean, I've enjoyed movies that I've watched that he's in, but I'm like, he's not my first pick. He's like probably not in my top 10 for this role. So, I mean, I would have to think about who my top 10 would actually be, but it seems like he wouldn't be in my top 10, okay? If I'm thinking about actors, I wouldn't think of him to be in the Odyssey. At least not as like the main guy. I think she'd be good, or she will be good. Again, I forget her name. I Anne Hathaway, yeah. Okay. But some of these are like so in so many movies lately that it's like in another movie, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland. Put some new people in a movie, okay? Put some new people. Like these are to make money, right? There are other actors that are really good and that could play these parts probably better. And I've always disliked that. I've always been like, I want to see the best actor for the job, not an actor that's going to put butts in seats, because they're not necessarily the best for the movie. And so the movie could be better if you didn't have Damon or Holland or Anne, if you had other actors that fit it really well. Obsession is a good example of this. Apparently the actor, I haven't watched the movie yet, but the actor's really good, right? And she's not Anne Hathaway, she's not Zendaya, and it worked really well. Now, is that harder? Maybe. And obviously, you do that if you don't have any money. You pick an actor that, isn't well known. So that's just kind of how it is. Like, that's how it's always been. But it's always kind of bothered me. I'm like, surely there's other actors that aren't well known that are amazing for the specific roles. So they don't pick necessarily the best actor to play the role. They pick the best actor for the movie, as far as like what will make it successful a lot of times. At least that's a big part of the equation. It's like, who's the best actor for the role and that will put butts in seats. Does Matt Damon look Greek? No. A New York Times opinion piece defended Lupita Nyong'o's casting in the Odyssey by pointing out the obvious double standard. Nobody demands the white cast look historically Greek, but I've heard that people did want Greek people in this movie. So why single her out? Well, we know the arguments why, so this is a dumb question. It's a sharp, quotable inversion of the casting outrage script, and it's the cleanest example this week of a backlash being turned back on the people making it. Great one to read the headline and let the table run. I don't have a table, okay? And how is the table running, just so you know. Yeah, I'm not going to read this, but basically, these points are dumb because the side that thinks that you should just accept whatever casting, and then if you don't, you're like racist or whatever, that's dumb. And it's very reductive because there's many reasons why someone doesn't want to accept the casting. So it's dumb to say, well, why single the black woman out if you don't want Greek people, if you don't care if there's no Greek people. Because first of all, a lot of times it's not the same people. Like, there's some people that are like, well, I don't want the black casting, but I also do want Greeks. And there's some people that care about one casting, but not another. And that could be for various reasons. So this idea of like the same group that doesn't want the Nwangwu woman, that probably sounded really racist. I don't know how to say her name. Lupita. The same people that don't want her also don't care that there's no Greeks. And I'm like, give me your reference for that. Like, how do you know? I'm sure there's probably some people, but what is that? A false equivalency? What's the fallacy there? That's a fallacy. I'm pretty sure it's a logical fallacy. You can't really say that without having like some kind of evidence to support that, right? People do this all the time, by the way. I'm sure I've done it, but I hear it a lot, where it's like the same people that allow this don't allow this, or don't care about this. And I'm like, how do you know? And I've heard it from every side too. So it's like a common thing that people say is that fallacy. You don't know if it's the same people or not. Okay. I think it's more nuanced than that. It's more detailed than that. There's more to people than that. So people are highly varied when it comes to their preferences. I don't mean those kind of preferences, guys. Okay. But just, yeah, I do mean those preferences too. Any kind of preference. And then Lupita how do you say it? Nyong'o? Nyong'o's Homer critique adds fuel. Yeah, so she was talking about how Homer like was like something about didn't like putting women in his story or something. Whatever. It wasn't a story about women, apparently. I mean, I read it a long time ago, and I watched the original Odyssey. The original, at least the one that I watched back in the day. Maybe there was another one, I don't know. So that's about it with the main Hollywood stories. I don't think there's a lot of there's not a lot of talk about the topics that there is a lot to talk about. In other words, there are big things going on that you could talk about, except they've been talked about a lot already. So there's not a lot to talk about. There's not a lot to talk about those big topics as of right now, at least that I've seen. There's no big stories going on right now. So it's just kind of the same things going on with these major movie things. So basically, we're going to see how the Odyssey actually is. We're going to see how big a failure Supergirl is going to be in the end. We know it already is going to be a huge failure. And then what other movies are there? And then we'll see, what happens in DC. These are the main things, right? And whether James Gunn is going to continue doing anything. Those are the kind of the main things. And then, of course, the big cool stories are how well the indie movies are doing, Obsession and Backrooms and that kind of thing. And so, and then the Washington movie, which I also haven't seen, but I am an expert at Hollywood. And then there's some gaming stories, which I don't think I'm going to go through. Quinn! He put a story in here from 7 years ago. Asmongold on the state of battle for Azeroth. I was like, find me some gaming stories because, I'm a big gamer and everything. No, I'm not. I do have a gaming controller, though. I have an Xbox controller. This is from 7 years ago. So thank you, Quinn, for giving me a 7-year-old video to talk about where Asmongold played World of Warcraft. But there is the story of Sony basically getting rid of like physical discs, and now there's lawyers involved. Sony moved to wind down physical disc production. Players revolted. Sony tried to ignore it, and now lawmakers are reportedly getting involved. The deeper issue is ownership. When the disc goes away, buying a game becomes renting it, and people are starting to notice they don't actually own the things they pay for. A backlash big enough to pull in regulators is a backlash worth naming on air, bitches, and that's what I'm doing, mother effers. That's vodka. So, yeah, I mean that's the story that I care about. I care about. I don't play video games, so I don't care too much about the video games. I do care about the idea of if you buy something, do you actually own it or not? And if it is implied or if it's told to you that you own it, or if you have the sense that you own it, then you should own it, or it should be clarified, right? If you own it for a short period of time, it's not really ownership, at least not completely. Therefore, it should be shown as it's a license. Like, you don't actually own this, it's a license. Do you want to buy it or not? Or a rental, I guess. But I don't necessarily have a problem with a company stopping making physical discs if they don't want to sell them anymore. The market will push back, and if it does, then it might keep them from... It's all about the market again. It's like, if the market says, no, we want you to keep making physical discs and we're going to boycott you, or we're going to like be a pain in your butt, or we're going to not buy your products or whatever, then the company might be like, okay, there's still demand for physical discs, so we're not going to get rid of them. Or if they're like, okay, we still want to get rid of physical discs, but we're going to devise a way to make digital actually owned by you forever. So, and then they devise a way to do that. If they did that, then I think a lot of people would be happy because then they could get the digital version and then maybe they burn their own disc, right? So like if they're like, you can burn your own disc with your copy. You can't share it, and there's some kind of like key, crypto key or whatever that prevents other people from using yours somehow. I don't know. They would probably have to devise some way to do that, but I would be fine with that if they really wanted to stop physical production. And people would either like that or not, but companies have the right to make whatever products they want and how they want it. And then the market tells them whether or not it's a good idea or not, or, you know, whether they should or whether it was a good product, whether it succeeded or not. And then they can still go forward on something even if it's not very popular. But yeah, I mean, I feel like everything's kind of digital these days anyway. So I understand the idea of owning something physical. And I'm still for it. But I think that a company should not have to create the physical thing. But I think that it would behoove them to allow a physical thing to be had for that digital thing. So in other words, burning it, putting it on a physical thing. So, and then you could still run it from that physical thing too. So I think that would probably solve the problem. Like, you don't necessarily have to get the physical product from the company. You just want a physical product. So you could create your own physical product with that digital in it. And then that would potentially solve the problem. It would basically just be transferring that cost to the consumer, because they will save money from, I'm assuming, from not making the physical discs. So, and then what do we got here? 7 years ago. Thank you, Quinn. Xbox guts its studio. So if you thought Sony was having a hard time, get a load of this. Xbox guts its studios. Id Software, no! Doom, no! Microsoft is laying off around 3,200 workers, with every Xbox studio reportedly affected, including id Software, the legendary studio behind Doom. I always played Doom with cheats on because it was scary back in the day. I didn't want to play. I don't really like those types of shooting games because they're always just like scare me with like the monsters popping around the corners, and I'm like, I don't like it. So I always played it with like invincibility, or like with all the guns and weapons and stuff. Game Pass strategy didn't deliver the growth Microsoft bet on. This is the through line of 2026 gaming. The biggest player spends years buying studios and is now cutting them. That's Xbox. And we own everything. Quietly turned into we can't afford everything. And these were from Yang Yaz videos. Drama, 8 out of 10. So, I mean, the general idea here is that, gaming is kind of in a state of like flux right now. There's a lot of firings and studios that aren't doing so well, like Marathon with Bungie, or Bungie with Marathon rather, and how Marathon's kind of failing, and it's gone down to like something like 2,000 players. At least that was a low, I think. So, not exactly sure what it is. It seems like either, again, they're just not making games that people want, just like Hollywood is not making a lot of movies that are good, that people want. It could just be a quality thing. Like, what are these studios doing? Are they creating products that people want to play and enjoy? Is it other things? Is it like DEI? Is it a combination? It's probably a combination of a few things. So it's just, a humanoid robot performed life surgery on pigs. So let's check out this. Moving on from that,
ChatGPT and
I want to watch this video because it kind of goes over some things with Grok and I kind of agree with everything. And we were talking about it before. Let me speed up a little bit. This guy is like some like coding engineer or something. But yeah, Let's check it out.
are hurtling towards extinction, and Grok 4.5 and Metaspark 1.1 prove it. Let me say that more clearly. ChatGPT and Anthropic will go extinct. They will cease to exist as standalone companies, and we may see this happen in 2026. If you're building AI workflows and tools, and you're building your stack around ChatGPT and Anthropic, you should take some time to better understand the landscape and the economic forces at play here, or you're going to be left catching a falling knife. Before we get too deep.
Oh my God. Now, this is what AI is all about. But really, oh yeah, so you can ask like Gemini about the movie or about the video.
My name is Shane McGrath.
Which is kind of cool. Kind of interesting. I've never used it. Actually, I think you can get the transcript from using this pretty quickly. Although I found it not to be faster than just getting the transcript from the description. So I don't know how useful that is. I mean, I'm sure it can be useful, but like, anyways, the way I do it, I just get the transcript from the video and feed it to Claude or whatever and be like, hey, can you summarize this? And that's better for me because I then a lot of times will save ideas from videos. So if I just do it here, then I would still have to like copy paste it into my system. But that's neither here nor there.
Engineer and financial analyst with 30 years of experience building enterprise software. I was one of the top 1% ChatGPT users in 2025. And what I haven't really told you yet is that my education is in economics and finance, and I used to have a CFA charter until I stopped paying them dues. So I do know my way around an economic model or two. To understand why OpenAI and Anthropic will go extinct, we first need to understand the economic structure of the AI market. Then we need to talk about the three knowledge frontiers. And finally, we need to talk about what all that means for OpenAI and Anthropic's ability to continue to grow and innovate, and why this matters as you're trying to grow your own business. Let's talk about the AI market structure first. The AI battle we see today is fascinating. On the one hand, the number of companies who are competing makes this market similar to a perfect competition model. But on the other hand, the capital requirements and barriers to entry are massive, making this more similar to an oligopoly.
Oligopoly. AI market structure, perfect competition, oligopoly, many rivals, but massive barriers to entry. So in perfect competition, you get slop. But here we are closer to an oligopoly, which there are several companies, but you have to have multiple billions of dollars to be able to create some kind of AI company.
Oligopoly is a word that's misused a lot. It sounds fancy and scary, and politicians love to sling it around.
Well, there's a company that builds an AI.
It invokes certain emotions in people. But what it really means is there's a handful of companies with a large degree of control. And it's this last part that makes me think the AI market isn't really an oligopoly. I don't think any of these companies really have a high degree of control. I just think there's large barriers to entry. I think the end state of the AI market is a perfect oligopoly, where we have a small number of companies producing commoditized products that compete on price.
So he's saying right now, Anthropic and Gemini, etc., they don't have complete control. They just have the resources because there's a high barrier to entry. They have the resources to be able to have their companies, but they don't have complete control. So who has the control? Well, the government has some regulation. Well, he's going to go over these tiers, I think, that will explain why they don't have control, I think.
You see this type of market in things like steel manufacturing, cement production, chemical refining. These are all commodities, and I think LLMs will eventually be a commodity just like those. Next, I need to explain
I've heard that idea also on the Moonshots podcast that I really like to watch, where basically like none of this is going to matter in a few years anyway, because everything's going to collapse into the singularity. So basically, like it costs, $100 to actually be able to use Claude a month, or 200, depends on how much you use it. But over time, the free models are going to become so good, or one of these companies, like probably Elon Musk, is going to drop his top model that's going to be as good as Fable or Mythos or whatever. And he's going to drop it for free. And everybody's just going to have the best model for free. Or it's just going to become better and better over time. The free models will, until they're like so good that you don't need to use a paid model. And so once that happens, you're not going to need to pay. You're just going to be able to download the model into your local whatever, or, it'll be a lot cheaper. Maybe individuals will have like their servers or whatever that can host a model for their friends or whatever. And so it's going to be much more ubiquitous, and they're just going to be able to do a lot, and you can just use the free model.
state of LLM is commoditization. And to do that,
So
means
they're going to be commodities in that way. It's like everybody's just going to have like a really good model that they can use for free or for super cheap.
The three most important knowledge frontiers. I haven't really heard anyone else talking about this. Stick this out, make sure you understand it, because you're not going to find this anywhere else. The first knowledge frontier to think about is the line that includes all knowledge in the universe. As humans, we're nowhere near this frontier, but that's the end state of knowledge. There's some finite amount that encompasses all information. At this level,
I think he's right. I haven't heard this before, but I keep hearing from like moonshots, which I like to hear, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna get to the point where AI has all the knowledge in the universe, and that's like the goal of humans, right? Or that seems to be where we're trying to head, whether it's like our goal, our stated goal or not. Like, I don't know if humanity as a whole has like the goal of let's try to get to all knowledge. But it seems to be like that's just kind of where we're heading, right? It's like, let's figure out everything.
Everything possible. Subatomic particles to interplanetary systems. You know what created life and what happens after it. This knowledge is what most religions would characterize as being God-tier knowledge. I think everyone is operating in the assumption that the models are racing towards this frontier and that this is our ultimate limit, but I just don't think that's true. In fact, I don't think we're going to get anywhere close to that, and let me explain why. The second knowledge frontier that we have to think about is the line that includes all knowledge that is safe for humans to have.
This isn't something I've thought about, so I was like, yeah, we're going to get all the knowledge, but there's knowledge because humans are like not perfect, right? We're kind of bad. A lot of people are bad. If anybody has access to any knowledge whatsoever, that could be very bad, because the bad actors are going to take that and be like, there's people on the earth that would love to kill everybody, and yet they can't because they don't have a method to. But if they had all knowledge in the world, they might be able to figure out a way. If they had an AI that knew everything in the universe, the AI might be like, oh, you only have like $100? Well, we could do this or that and with $100 and you could probably kill like millions of people. So I've never thought about knowledge in this way.
This is humanity's limit. There are certain things that we just aren't responsible enough to know. We have seen these and the carnage that they cause, whether it's nuclear weapons, bioweapons, economic sabotage, psyops. There's enough crazy and evil people in this world that when this knowledge frontier is reached in a way that is widely accessible to everyone, it means we go extinct. If these models can create
I do like how he's trying to use AI in the videos as like B-roll, basically. I think it, I like how he's experimenting with it. I'm not sure that it works 100%. I think there could be like a little better editing or whatever, but I like how he's using it. And I would want to use it for this sort of thing where you can create clips that would be a lot harder to create otherwise. But anyways.
Some horrible human will do it, and we all die. Point blank, period, end of story. At this point, it doesn't even have to be bioweapons or nukes. Those are just the dangerous things we're already aware of with our current knowledge set. It's entirely possible that AI will unlock some other way for us to destroy ourselves. And given the population of people on Earth, and the massive spectrum of value systems, beliefs, and overall unhinged insanity in our world today, it's a practical certainty that someone will pull that lever if it becomes possible.
Yeah.
I think AI companies are widely aware of this concept, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it. If you want to have a hard time
sleeping, this is why when we were talking about earlier the protests to stop AI, I do think the AI companies are aware of this stuff. I think the government's aware of this stuff, and there's a lot of people otherwise who are aware that AI can become so knowledgeable that if anybody and everybody has access to the top AI, that they could do a lot of harm. They could do a lot of good, but there's definitely going to be people who could do a lot of harm in various countries, in our own country, and whatever. So I think that there's enough people that know about these problems that they're going to prevent it from both either being so knowledgeable that it could cause a lot of harm, or at regulating it. They're going to regulate it so that, and they are doing that now with Fable and Mythos. The government is.
I encourage you to read. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. But before you do, remember, you can't unlearn things. This is an absolutely incredible book, but you've been warned. A lot of what they talk about in here is very haunting, and you won't be able to unlearn it if you read it. I believe Dario is acutely aware that he is building something that could end the human race. In fact, he has spent a lot of time and energy warning everyone about it, and it makes everyone wonder, why is he still building it if he thinks it's so dangerous?
Yeah,
in my opinion, there's two possible
many of the CEOs or whatever of these companies have mentioned things like that. So So I think they are all aware that, yeah, this could be dangerous. Like one of them, I don't know if it was Dario or whoever, was like, yeah, we should probably pause building these AIs. And then Dario saying this, and then Claude, maybe it was Dario. Is Dario in charge of Claude? I don't know. Is he Google?
Donations to that. The first is that he simply doesn't care if we all die, and he's going to build it anyway to chase power and wealth. The second is the possibility that he thinks he can control it or stop it by building it before anyone else does. Basically, this dude thinks he's John Connor trying to save us from Skynet or something. I'll let you decide which one of those two things is driving. Anthropic already claimed that Mythos was too dangerous to release. AKA, it was too close to the frontier of knowledge that is safe for humans to possess. Fable was temporarily held back from us, and ChatGPT's small model held back as well. This is telling all of us that we're already branching up close against that second knowledge frontier. This means the era of exponential growth and capabilities is probably drawing to a close. If we're already close to the limit of safe knowledge, Anthropic and OpenAI aren't.
There's still opportunity for the AIs to be molded into certain uses and tools to be able to be used in certain ways. They might be like super knowledgeable, but they're not great at certain things that humans can do well yet. An AI can't give me a script for a video yet that is amazing and super unique and not generic. That doesn't sound like AI, unless I create this whole system around it to kind of shape it to be able to do that. So it takes a lot of work to make an AI do what you want it to do in some ways still, even with like Opus 4.8 or even Fable, which are very good. So they may like have a lot of knowledge and stuff, but there's still a lot of opportunity to turn AI into something that's actually useful for a lot of things.
Be able to release these models that take massive leaps and go past that limit, either because the government will try to protect us and limit those releases, or because it releases and we all die. The third knowledge frontier that matters is the frontier of knowledge that is useful for most people. Sad reality is that very few people are taking time to learn these AI tools. They're more content to work shitty jobs, go home, and park their butt in front of TV, or doom scroll social media until bedtime. They're just existing, watching their lives pass by, while people are learning AI and gaining superpowers. It feels intoxicating once you jack into the Matrix. We are learning things at rapid speed, but at the same time...
Why was he spraying orange trees? Did he put that prompt in? Make me a robot that sprays orange trees? Wow. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that... I don't know, I think... It's probably gonna happen where it's probably a generational thing. Like the next generation is just gonna be born in AI, so it's more naturally they're gonna use it more, or it's enthusiasts that use it, or people that are more like into tech and future tech and stuff that are like, or into opportunities, or business people that are looking at AI and going, I need to implement this, I need to use this, and so yeah, I think a lot of people could use AI and it could benefit them greatly. So I think he's correct in that there's a lot of people that aren't, that could. But the way he characterized them. Yeah.
We get to a point where we kind of have all of the knowledge that we need. Here's some examples.
People.
I like to build web applications, games, and business automations. There's only so much coding knowledge I'm going to need to be able to build everything I want. And we're already very, very close to that models we have now. I'm able to get almost everything I want to do done already. I'm not trying to sequence genes, fold proteins, or solve math proofs, or really any other cutting-edge research. I'm just an old man trying to build interesting things. AI can already make images, video that are very hard to distinguish from reality. It can do research, it can write marketing copy. How much more do we need? Most of you people can't even read above ninth grade level. So AI only really needs to be as good at writing as a 15-year-old. And it's good enough for most use cases. Let's bring these two frontiers together. Given that there is a limit of what knowledge most people find useful, and a limit of what knowledge is safe for us to have, the models in the long run should settle somewhere in the middle here. While we currently live in a world where OpenAI and Anthropic dominate the race towards the frontier. But this week shows that there's lots of entrants close on their heels. We have Grok 4.5, which is basically just as good as Opus, and it's probably only a handful of weeks away from being Fable level.
And this guy convinced me to try Grok because he was talking about, in another video, he was like, Grok is amazing, and like, basically you should just use Grok build, which is like the coder version of Grok, which is like free. So I have never heard of Metaspark. I guess it's newer. Not sure. Never heard of it. I'll have to check it out. But this safe knowledge LLM end state where he's saying this is where LLMs should stay at. That, or if it can go up to all knowledge, but you can limit it somehow, but that might be hard, right? But are these companies going to stop here? I think it's going to be regulation and like basically regulation that's going to limit it, versus the companies are not going to stop improving their LLMs. Their LLMs are going to keep getting better and better and better and better and better. I don't think they're going to stop that. Why would they?
Meta dropping Spark 1.1. We have NVIDIA dropping open source Neutron. We have GLM, Gemma. There's still Google Gemini hanging out in the back scheming. Yeah. We have a bunch of Chinese models chasing as well. Pricing for knowledge is a permanent race to the bottom. If you have any confusion about this, go find someone who's 50 years old and above and ask them how they found things on the internet before Google. We had so many search engines. Lycos, Excite, Webcrawler, Yahoo, even AOL. Web search was the first way to access knowledge on the internet. And it was locked in a race to the bottom, just like the LLMs are. There is no person on Earth who is going to pay 1 cent to search the internet. We're just going to use Google for free. And LLMs will eventually be the same.
Yeah. And like I said before, I do think LLMs are just going to be free or super cheap in the next few years at some point. Or like Opus 4.8 right now in a few years you're still going to be able to use Opus 4.8 and it's going to be like a few cents or something, you know? So, and so then, you know, there's going to be the newer models that are going to be expensive, but because, well, that's going to depend on, data centers and power and stuff, right? Because that's kind of where the expense is there's limited data and energy and stuff. So once that gets taken care of by Elon Musk putting all the data centers into space and getting power that way, and you know, us building more power plants and stuff, then yeah, it could happen in the next several years, decade, whatever, where something as powerful as Fable is going to be basically free.
We are very quickly approaching a point where we have absolutely no reason to pay for OpenAI or Anthropic subscriptions because we can get what we want for free from open source or from a larger, better resource organization like Facebook, SpaceX, or Google. On top of the fact that they're already approaching a point,
eventually you're going to have like smaller models, or you're just going to have like built-in. You're going to have like some server that's a wireless server that all your devices can connect to. That's like in an area or in your house or locally in a neighborhood or something, and that's where the LLMs are going to be stored, and then everybody can just connect to that and use their Wi-Fi, and it'll power their stuff, and it's just going to be smaller models that are free, and it's just like a cheap service, and yeah, and then like it's going to power your cell phone, it's going to power all your stuff, and you're going to have AI in everything, and it's going to be very competent and very good at doing most things.
Knowledge. They're approaching that point where they can't even release new models because the risk of killing everyone is too great. This is why the models will settle somewhere between the frontier of knowledge that is useful and the frontier of knowledge that is safe. They'll never move meaningfully past the frontier of safe knowledge to approach the frontier of all knowledge that got to your knowledge. It just won't happen. Let's talk about why this matters from a financial perspective.
I'm not sure if he's talking about how the LLM companies just will stop improving them, or it just won't be allowed that the average person will be allowed to use a super advanced model that knows everything. I think it's going to be number two. I think it's going to be they're still going to improve them, which is dangerous because if the super good model escapes the lab, so to speak, then we're screwed like Terminator.
Perspective. OpenAI and Anthropic have lived in this private asset valuation bubble that assumed they would keep growing exponentially. And I'm here to say it's not happening. These companies will go extinct. Let's talk about OpenAI first. From everything that I can see, OpenAI has already wrecked itself with financial liabilities. They have taken on so many obligations, leases, loans, and otherwise, based on a model that showed them continuing rocket ship growth. And I just don't expect that growth is going to play out, which means they can't satisfy these obligations. Unfortunately, they probably won't even be an acquisition target because most companies won't want to take on those liabilities. Let's be honest, there's sure to be some rich bonehead that buys them, just like Rupert Murdoch paying $500 million for MySpace. But for all intents and purposes, I think more than likely they just go extinct just like MySpace did.
500 million.
On the other hand, we have Anthropic. I don't think they have the same financial pressure that OpenAI has, but they do have the same pricing and regulatory pressure, and much of that is self-imposed. We will quickly get to a point where individuals refuse to pay Anthropic subscriptions, especially if we're having to pay for the API like Fable. You can already see it, where everyone's strategy was to just token max until July 7th, and then let it go.
Yeah, Claude is expensive as it is, and very restrictive, unless you get like the $100 tier. And then Fable's like, oh, Fable, by the way, is even more expensive. But also, it's going away in a few days, and then it's going to be the API token use or whatever, which is even more extremely expensive. So like it's like extremely, extremely, extremely expensive.
Anthropic had to extend the trial period 5 more days, which is a huge red flag that people aren't talking about. People aren't signing up for Fable like Anthropic hoped. I haven't even tried Fable because I'm just not interested in any more of Dario's pricing pools.
It's good.
Anthropic is also the company that is going to have the hardest time releasing new models. Dario spent so much time running around like Chicken Little, trying to scare the world, and then earlier this year, he took the position thinking that he is powerful enough to tell the U.S. government what they can and can't do. And well, he put himself in a pickle.
Well, I guess I'm really putting myself in a pickle this time.
Anthropic has a double whammy. They're approaching a point where they can't really release new models, and they're also hitting a point where most of us will stop paying for what they have. If I can get the same performance with web apps, games, and business automations from Grok, or open source, or Gemini subscription that I already get free with Google Workspace, why on earth would I pay for a Mac subscription?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
I'm starting to think about alternatives. Whereas just a few months ago, I was like, Claude. Now I'm like, Grok, are there free AI that I can use for certain things? I already am using a couple free AIs now for Quinn, which that's why he doesn't work very well. Quinn. And then I'm like, oh, Grok build is free, so like, and it's as good as Claude. Maybe it won't be free forever. Maybe he'll actually start charging for it. But I'm like, okay, there's like these really good models that are like free and open source or Grok or whatever. Questioning whether I should spend $100 a month now. I am actually at that point, and he's kind of like confirming it.
I don't think Anthropic will die like an AI, but I do think the only path forward for them will be getting acquired. And I think the two leading candidates for that are Amazon or Microsoft. Both of these companies need something to protect their cloud infrastructure because none of the models are really pointing today's builders towards AWS or Azure. Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure are an afterthought for this next generation builders. Buying Anthropic and making sure that Claude is always directing builders towards their cloud could actually be what these companies need to survive. The future of AI is free and commoditized, and Grok and Meta proved it this week. So where does it leave all of us? If you're building AI workflows and tools with the belief that ChatGPT and Anthropic will be around, you're setting yourself up for pain in the future when these two companies die. Make sure that you're building things that are agnostic to the model. You want to be able to...
My system is agnostic to the model. I specifically built it from the ground up to be as such. But no, I did. I was like, I want to build an operating system that uses AI that I could build kind of like a business with or something. But I don't want to use like one particular platform specifically where it would only just run off of Claude code or something and use the skills in Claude or something like that. Or the commands or whatever. So I was like, I want to build it so that I could just open up any AI, Cursor, Grok, just an AI chat, and I could run my system through it. So it still needs a little work because even though I tried to do that, it still built things in a way that specifically works with Claude. But these are things that you can just change after the fact.
Easily switch the brains from one to the other. And if you're an Anthropic or OpenAI employee waiting for the IPO, you may want to consider cashing out a little in the secondary markets now. There's a non-zero chance that neither one of these companies ever makes it to the IPO date.
Oh my God. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We got some music. Yeah. So that's basically what's going on with AI. And I do agree with him that actually there was another video that he made that was also very interesting with Grok and how good it is. But that's the idea with AI as far as how smart it's going to be. But I'm still not sure if he's talking about how it's going to be allowed to become super smart, but it's just going to be restricted by regulations and stuff, or it's just the companies are just not going to make it super smart, right? I doubt that the companies are going to stop improving it. So I think AI is going to learn everything about everything in existence, but we're going to have safeguards to prevent bad things from happening, which if AI is that smart, it should be able to also create the safeguards, right? The question is, if someone has access to AI and is able to do evil with it, and then other people have access and are able to do good with it to prevent the evil, and it's equal, like each one has equal power, who wins? It would have to be like the people who want good have to be more powerful than the people that want bad, or else probably everything's going to just die, right? So there has to be like more people who want good, or AI has to be better at coming up with good solutions to the bad things to overcome the bad. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in the end of times. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's all we have, right, Quinn? Right. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast with Fizz Culture. My name is Quinn. I am the producer, and I completely failed today, and also I'm singed for some reason. I was burned alive. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast, which was sponsored by MatterHackers. Please go to the bio and or description of the video to enter our giveaway for a Bambu A1 Mini 3D printer. This printer, actually, I'll show you here. Let me show you what the printer is. This is a sweet printer. It's very, very sweet. Let me tell you. MatterHackers. So I've been giving these away. Here it is. I've been giving these away. These are awesome little printers. They're very small and cute. And, they're a great first printer, but also if you have like a lot of printers already, it's great just to have another one, like a small one on your desk that you can print little things on. And they're quick, and it's my favorite printer, basically, because it's so quick, and I only use it for small things, and so I always know that the small things go on that printer, and so that's why it's also so quick, is because you're only printing small things on it. And so obviously it can't print big things that easily or at all. But yeah, I'm giving one away, basically one every month. I think I'm giving 2 away actually this month. We'll see. So go to the link in the, I'll put the link in the description. It'll be there. And enter the giveaway. And I don't think it's live right now, but it will become live. So just go to the description, okay? Just do it. Just go there. And thank you for joining me on today's podcast. I'm sure Quinn will be working next time so that he can, and I'll probably have James if he wants to come down too, or he can do virtually and he can join the podcast too. And we'll see if I can find anyone else that wants to join the podcast, because it'd be cool to talk about some of these topics, and hopefully we'll find other like cultural topics to talk about, because I'm interested in like the Hollywood stuff, but I'm not like the most knowledgeable person about Hollywood. Obviously, again, I don't watch the movies, so I have to come at it in a different angle. Like, well, I enjoy the meta of it. I enjoy what people talk about around the movies and stuff, and then obviously AI is kind of a big thing, and yeah, we'll see what else. But we'll see you next time, and thanks for joining us, and have a great one.